Welcome to the Manitoba Connections TV show with interviews and performances from my special guests lined up over the next year. Charities, nonprofits, multicultural and small biz, and disability organizations, and many more. Today I have as my special guest Tom Kinsella with Legal Shield. Here is his bio. On his 18th birthday, he took a train to Calgary, Alberta, to join the Queen's Own Rifles. After basic training, his battalion was sent to Cyprus to keep the peace. Cyprus was considered a war zone. He received a UN Peacekeeping Medal. After the military, he went to work at Deer Lodge Veterans Hospital, where he met his wife. He later worked at the Now Health Science Center. He worked on many wards, including emergency and ICU, for 7 years. After leaving the hospital, he was hired at the Canadian National Railways and was awarded a lifetime rail pass for himself, his wife, 3 children, 8 grandchildren, and 1 great-grandson. He later joined a company that helped people with legal plans that included wills and identity theft plans to protect them and restore their identity if they ever became victims. Thanks for coming in, Tom. Could you now give us an idea what identity theft is?
Well, Barry, identity theft is committed when someone steals your personal information, such as your name, social security, for the purpose of typically hacking your identity to do fraudulent things with it.
Now, how does one become a victim of identity theft?
Well, there's many ways they can get you to be a victim. They can open up credit cards in your name, bank accounts, utility bills. They can rent apartment blocks or build apartments. They can lease houses, cars. Anything you can do, they can do with your identity.
And how could they do that in more detail? How could they actually do that?
Well, they get your information from many ways. Many companies have been breached. A lot of... can we stop that?
How somebody can actually get hold of your identity and rent an apartment in your name?
Well, Barry, many companies have been breached. Actually, the Canadian government's been breached. There's many ways for them to get your information, many ways. Lately, I think they've gotten passports, people's passports as well.
So when you say they've gotten people's passports, you mean physically or over the internet they've actually hacked into the passport account?
They actually hacked into the government. And so, yeah, your information is out there, SIN numbers, pretty well everything they need to get started to make an identity. Driver's licenses, for instance. People lose their purses, their wallets. There's many ways. House break-ins, they'll look for anything they could take that has your identity on it.
So you'd say the two sources then are physical theft of your wallet or purse or your cards, or being breached in an attack on a website where your information is stored.
Yeah.
Because you have an account.
Yeah.
Like the C or A or Passport Canada or banks.
Exactly.
People got bank accounts online.
Exactly.
Okay. And now here's another question. How can one get the identity stolen? Like how can somebody physically get a hold of your ID if you have a good safety on your house and everything? You've got all kinds of security monitoring. How could they get access to your documents?
Well, they can change your mail. I mean, they don't have to go to your house to do it. They can just change your address, and all your mail will go to their place once they get enough information. I think if you want to get a cell phone account, you have to bring some kind of an ID and a bill from your house, so you could easily get a cell phone account.
So what types of documents can be stolen? You mentioned some things, but do they need a lot of documents to get identity theft, or do they just need one single document?
Well, they usually need 2 or 3, but generally the information has already been out there. So many companies have been breached. The government's been breached. So it's not a matter of are you going to become a victim, it's maybe when you're going to become a victim.
Now, I know a lot of identity theft has been in the news lately, but it's been talking about corporations and organizations, but they don't really talk about individual identity theft. what would you say the dollar value is? And I'm not sure the dollar value would include the companies or just individuals. If you took an aggregate figure, what would the ballpark figure be?
Individuals, it would be billions. Billions of dollars have been lost in identity theft. Yeah, companies as well as personal people through scams, through fraudulent means, yeah.
And I guess when it comes to the companies, let's say you're dealing at this bank, ABC Bank, and you have an account there and they got breached. You don't really have any recourse against that bank for being breached to say, well, my ID is all gone now because it got my address, it got my bank account number, all the ID I put in to open up the online bank account.
As long as they tell you it's happened, I don't think they have any more liability. It's up to you to protect yourself. And there's only one way I know is to get an identity theft plan that monitors your information, you know, and does it daily, 24/7.
Now, would you say besides getting a plan, if somebody said, well, maybe, I know you mentioned $1 a day for the plan, but if they didn't want to do that, are there any other ways that maybe not guarantee, but at least some basic steps they could do?
Well, they can check their credit card statements, their bank statements. They can look at their Equifax file. But that doesn't talk to you about driver's licenses. It doesn't talk to you about passports. You know, if somebody commits a crime, they got your passport. You don't think you'll be doing much traveling after. So you need somebody that's looking out for you.
And now we have a tool in front of us. This is one basic way somebody could at least start to do something to protect their identity. Because I know when most people have expired bank statements, this is not what I would do, but I think most people would do this. They would take the bank statement with all the information on it, maybe even stores you even shopped at, and they just throw it in the trash like that. Would you say that's a good idea?
No, it's not a good idea. That's a good idea. The shredder is a very good idea because people actually do, it's called dumpster diving, and they'll get into businesses you've shopped at, they'll get into into your personal garbage and look for any statements. They can use anything that's...
So would you say a more effective way then is just getting a shredder, they're not that expensive, and just let the shredder shred it up, that nobody can get access to that document anymore because it's shredded.
All your credit cards, everything you can want to get rid of, you use the shredder,
Okay, and again, when I have expired credit cards myself, this card is expired, I don't throw it like that in the trash because people can just take the tape off of it and say, oh, there's a number, it's expired, but when you renew your credit card, as you know, the number stays the same.
Exactly.
It doesn't change.
Exactly.
Unless you report lost or stolen, then they give you a new number, right?
Yes.
So I would not do that. This is what I do. If I don't have a shredder, I will actually take scissors and cut it in pieces, like I might chop it like this. But now if I do have a shredder, you can see that I just cut this in half with the credit card. If I had a shredder, I would then, this shreds credit cards, your shredder?
Yep.
So I would just drop in the shredder, and now it's going to be chopped up. So there's nothing left of the credit card. And the other piece, I just throw the rest of it, and it's chopped up, and there you go. Nobody can rebuild that credit card because it's all in minuscule pieces, right?
Yeah. I also like to warn people about their medical cards. We've had one instance where the doctor asked the man, how come he didn't tell him about AIDS? Well, somebody used his medical card. Not only did he say he had AIDS, but they changed his blood type. So always keep it in mind, you know, when you go to see your doctor, that everything on your file is actually you. You know, it takes a minute to him to go over if there's nothing new been, you know, said about it.
Okay, that's a good piece of advice. So I'm just going to shred one more document here to show people it's not that complicated to put one piece of paper into the shredder and just let it shred the document. It takes seconds, maybe 2 seconds to shred it.
Yeah.
And you can keep going. You can probably put more than one page into the shredder too, like 2 pages at a time.
Yeah.
And so never ever throw your statements or anything with critical information just loosely in the trash.
Yeah.
Good piece of advice.
Yeah, and you should also know what's in your wallet. If you do lose it, you'll at least know right away what you've lost.
So you should make a list of all your IDs, all your credit card numbers.
Yeah, and
should be listed.
Yeah, it's
in your
not
wallet.
good to carry a whole bunch of stuff. You know, if you need a card for the day or something like that. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't take much to get an identity. They could get your name, date of birth, social insurance number. They can actually work in your name or under your number, your address, your driver's license, your credit cards, your bank, your passports, your phone numbers. They're all important. Emails and your social media, because they look at the social media, find out your birthdays, where you're leaving for holidays. It's all part of the protecting yourself.
And you mentioned social media because I know quite a few years ago Yahoo got hacked, and I recently received a settlement in the millions and billions of dollars that Yahoo had to pay out.
Yeah.
And I have an account at Yahoo.
Yeah.
But the minute I know an account's been hacked, I go in there and change my password and all the other information and make sure nothing's been tampered with.
Kind of late though. But I mean, you have to do something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But that's how it happens.
Yeah.
And children, I mean, you know, they have a SIN number and yet they have no credit history, so they're easily targeted. And when they, you know, grow up, they've got all this against them. So, yeah, you want somebody that's going to monitor your all of that I spoke about every day, and you want to at least once a month say everything's clear. Now, if you do happen to become a victim, they will restore your identity to pre-theft. And that could take a while, or it could take, you know, whatever it takes. They'll work for you until you're restored.
Now, I've also heard some people say in the news that you should always check your credit bureau. There's Equifax and TransUnion, and that's another point. You should always keep track of your credit history.
Yep.
With those credit bureaus, but it's not the only thing you should do, right?
No, exactly. It's pretty hard to know how many people are driving with your driver's license until you get pulled over. We know a fella, 15 people have been driving under his name. They missed court dates, so he was, you know, shocked to find out that, you know, he was going to get arrested.
So could you share a few more horror stories about people who've been victim of identity theft that maybe you've dealt with in your little company or getting these plans? Could you just give us an example of some of the stories that maybe people have got plans to the company represent in terms of what they've encountered?
Yeah. Well, actually, I met one fellow. His identity was so bad, he couldn't get a cell phone, he couldn't get an apartment. He was absolutely blacklisted. And he had to go, I think he went up north to work because he had try and rebuild his life, you know, because he couldn't prove anything. It was so overwhelming for him. And that's what happens to a lot of people. They get overwhelmed. They feel guilty, they feel stupid. How could this have happened to me? And some affects a lot of, you know.
Now, one thing, whenever you buy a house or buy a car, you always have to get car insurance for your car.
Yeah.
And when you buy a house, you probably have to get house insurance too, right?
Exactly.
But when it comes to protecting your identity, it seems that people think, it'll never happen to me, so why bother with identity theft plans?
Exactly. I think what it is, it's overwhelming. And when something's overwhelming, the brain don't want to think about it. You just hope that it's not going to happen to you. And my recommendation is, what if it could? What if it did?
So can you share some more examples about how serious the problem is? You gave a few examples, but how somebody could repair their identity once it did get stolen?
Well, that takes professionals. And usually if you do have this plan, they will phone the right people and to help you get back to pre-theft.
And what would you say some sensible steps you can take to prevent identity theft apart from enrolling in this program? Like we talked about the shredder.
Yeah.
We talked about protecting your document, checking your credit bureau history at those 2 credit bureaus.
Yeah.
Anything else you'd suggest?
Be aware, be careful when you're you know, there's people always watching you. Just, yeah, be careful. Learn the things you could and should do. I think our plan does have an area that you can go and read all about the things you can do to protect yourself. But the information's already out there. So the only way really to protect yourself is to have someone monitor your family, your children, you know.
So you also mentioned that if somebody wanted to get involved with the plan you represent, if they've somehow, I guess they do a pre-check, if they've been a victim of identity theft but they didn't know it, they wouldn't be eligible for the plan if in the discovery process.
Yeah, well, they'd have to pay, I think, some fee to get them going.
An extra fee?
Yeah, an extra fee. So
okay.
It's better to be safe than sorry. Yeah. And
okay.
like I say, this plan protects the children, the family, up to, I think, 26 years old if they're a full-time student living with you.
So this plan is not, it's only meant for individuals or families or children in the families. Did you say up to 26 years old?
Yeah.
It's
if
sons or daughters
to school, yeah.
in the family? But it's not meant to protect businesses.
Well,
so how could business protect from identity theft if a business was a victim of identity theft?
There is a plan for business as well, but usually it protects the owners of the business, their, their credit cards, their bank accounts, just like that. Because you can have a few bank accounts, a few emails. I mean, emails are important because there's a lot of information that people put in emails, and yet if they're hacked, just imagine all the bills, receipts, everything in emails today. It just goes on and on.
Another thing I've also seen, too, that they always say when you present your debit card at a store, make sure you protect the PIN when you're entering the PIN code. Because if anybody's spying the PIN code and they figured out what PIN you were putting in, technically, if you went out the store late at night, they could knock you over, grab your debit card, they got the PIN code, and then raid your bank account. Yeah,
there has been cases of people sitting in cars with binoculars looking at your PIN.
So it might be a good idea maybe to change your PIN somewhat often then.
Yeah, it's a good idea to change your passwords. We also have a password manager that protects you in making good passwords.
And when it comes to online, what sensible tips would you say give online? Because I know when people go on holidays, they'll announce they're going away for 2 weeks and put up their house in the picture where they live, and the hacker probably get the address of the house. So these guys are gone for 2 weeks. Nobody's wanted their house. I'll break in and see what I can get.
Yeah, exactly. And, all the children's photographs and their ages, and, it's a lot of information.
Would you say that more than ever, from maybe 25 or 30 years ago, we dispense a lot of free information without thinking about it?
Yeah.
Like we're just give out information all the time.
Exactly.
Without thinking who we're giving the information to, why they need the information, and then, what are you going to do with the information?
Exactly, because I know a lot of times they'll ask you to track you. You go to a website and they want to right away find out, can we track you? Can we know where you are at all times? That's not a good thing to have.
Like I even encountered when I was applying for a job at a cell phone company, I won't say the name of the company, I was surprised when they actually requested a passport from me to provide to the company. I said, I didn't bring my passport. I didn't know I needed it for a job interview. They said, would you have your driver's license? Now, we'll get back to what you mentioned earlier. Now, they scanned my driver's license in.
Exactly.
I didn't get the job, so there was a really nefarious person working for the company. He would have access to my driver's license. If he got fired for some reason.
Exactly.
And he was the one maybe that got my driver. He might have copied down the license number, took a picture of it, whatever, with his phone, and now he's got my driver's license.
All you do is change the picture, Barry. That's it. That's all you have to do is change the picture. And they've got machines now that can easily do that.
Yeah. So it's very easy to make up fake documents.
Very easy to make up fake documents,
Yeah. So is there any other tips you can give, like final tips for people to protect themselves? Again, from getting into ID plan program, like sensible tips that they can do?
Be careful. Be careful where you throw your bills. Be careful what information you give on the telephone. You know, be careful what emails you answer, because there's so many scams, and they always want you to either give money. They'll give you money back. Of course, they want access to your bank. Yeah, it's overwhelming. Your information has already been stolen. It's out there. All I can tell you is it's better to spend. If you're single, it's 50 cents a day.
So now, can you give our viewers a way they can get in touch with you if they want more to learn about these plans that you're talking about with your company?
Yeah, they can call me at 204-599-5568. My name is Tom. Or they can reach me at cancillat@gmail.com.
Well, I'd like to thank Tom Kinsella for being my guest and discuss identity theft and how to protect yourself today. Now, here are some public service announcements. Women in Tech Manitoba's monthly networking events. Tech Manitoba meets at the King's Head every Thursday with panel tech discussions and networking. Aiken's Business Center offers free networking Fridays 9 to 11. Thursday 11 to 12 is an AI seminar. And the last Saturday of the month, they have a Never Alone breakfast at 819 Sargent Avenue. Email info@. These TV episodes will be on Linktree, linktr.ee/Manitoba Connections on social media. Now tune into my next show where I have as my guest Stephen Bryden, the Program Director, District 64 Toastmasters. If you'd like to be a guest on this show, contact Manitoba Connections at shaw.ca. If you have an event, charitable or nonprofit, if you'd like announced, contact the email above. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.